like to start off by getting your reaction, Stephen, to Man City's dominant 4-0 home win over Newcastle United in the Premier League last weekend. Now, I think many people, including yourself, Stephen, were fearful of Newcastle heading into this one, but I think to the surprise of many, City eased to victory in the end. They managed
Hmm.
to catch the Magpies on an off day, and of course, the star of the show was new signing Omar Marmoush, who netted a 14-minute hat trick in the first half. Just how impressed were you by him and Man City overall in their win against Newcastle?
Yeah, that was an incredibly fun weekend of football for City. United losing, which which adds the cherry on top for, as a City fan. But also City showing signs of immense promise. Look, I'm aware there'll be bumps on the road towards the next version of Manchester City, but I think we saw the first signs of it this weekend, and it was sort of glorious. Look, Newcastle definitely didn't turn up, but I'm always a firm believer that a team can play badly if you make them play badly. Like, I don't think. You can get away with just being poor because someone else is. You have to play well to capitalise on it, and City did. 4-0, deserved, defensively solid, full of energy, creative, scored some really nice goals as well. Yeah, it was a remarkably exciting performance. I've been a bit apprehensive about City's future, not because I don't trust the board, but because there's lots of change on the horizon. Legends leaving, a whole bunch of players that need to be moving on. The football director, Chiqui Bergenstein, has moved on. We've got Hugo Viana coming in. Guardiola probably won't be here in a couple of years' time. And it felt like everything was crushing City down a little bit. And some of these signings felt like project signings, the ones that will take 2 or 3 years to adapt. But we saw that actually we might be in good hands because that was a performance very different to the performance that we've seen from City so far this season. And it was definitely built on the new guys, which was really exciting for me.
Yeah, I think in particular, as I said before, that Omar Marmoush is
Yeah,
the
yeah.
standout performer in that one. I think he really announced himself to the Etihad crowd on this in this game. How impressed were you in particular by him?
Yeah, Marmoush forgot to go over him then, but yeah, you're right. I thought Marmoush needed that performance. I was a little bit worried that Marmoush, if he didn't get a few goals relatively soon, he would maybe lose some of that, not the goodwill as such, but maybe belief in himself that he built up over in Germany. Because there's always a narrative when you move into a new league: can you handle the change? Will you suit the football? And there's not a single football in the world that isn't aware of that. Who doesn't think about these things because they're only human. And he hadn't scored, for his first four. Was it 4 or 5 games, something like
Yeah,
that?
first
Four
four
games, I think.
games, yeah.
First 4 games, and not. I don't think he would have been playing in his mind too much, but I definitely think we'll get into the point where if it'd gone 7 or 8, people would start to go, a lot of money there, and the guy hasn't scored yet. I felt like he needed this game to sort of rubber stamp that conviction, the confidence that he brought over with him from Frankfurt and the Bundesliga. And I don't really see any way now that he won't feel like himself here. Obviously, he'll have performances that aren't his very best, but I think he'll feel that he can do it now over here. And that's a big part of the battle. So, yeah, I was really impressed. His movement is excellent. He's such a different threat because we've got obviously Erling Haaland that everyone likes to double up on. But if you do that, you get the movement of Marmoush and Edison picking him in behind with that long assist of his, a great pass as well. And then, of course, the movement for the third goal for his hat trick, which is just classic centre forward play. But the second as well was really smart, cutting inside, taking the shot early. That was a classic Marmoush goal in the Bundesliga, that where gets a deflection, but he's a very much he makes his own look kind of player where he tries things and they come off and he looks confident. He looks like he believes he belongs here. And yeah, I'm very excited because I think we needed a foil for Haaland for an awful long time. And this big man, little man partnership with runners behind him, it could be really exciting for City, especially where football's heading.
Yeah, it really was a day to remember for Omar Marmoush. I think it was also great to see another new signing in Abdukodir Khusanov perform the way he did, especially after a difficult debut against Chelsea. And Nico Gonzalez, of course, he also impressed. He was making his Premier League debut against Newcastle and was jokingly nicknamed a mini Rodri by Guardiola after the
Yeah.
game. How pleased were you that those two performed well against Newcastle as well?
The thing for me is those two, as well as obviously Marmoush, as well as Savino, all those guys were signed this year, and I felt like they were the best players on the pitch. Well, maybe not the direct. Yeah, probably were. Those combination of those guys were the best players on the pitch, and Khusanov obviously probably wasn't quite as a standout as the other three I've mentioned there, but he was still really good. Like I can't believe we're sat here like watching a 20-year-old with his background, the first ever Uzbek international, in the Premier League, who's barely played much football for Lons before we signed him anyway. He only signed for 80 grand for them before he moved for pushing 40 million from Man City a year and a half later. I can't believe we're sat here and seeing look, that competent. Doesn't speak a word of English, 20 years old. He had a nightmare in his first few minutes again for Chelsea. Looks fine against Leyton Orient, admittedly, and he sort of recovered in the Chelsea game too. But this is one of the best teams in the country, with one of the best strikers in the world. That's not even an exaggeration. Isak's been phenomenal recently. And look, one or two slight decision-making things aside, he was remarkable. And I think Guardiola called his performance and Nico Gonzalez's performance extraordinary. Given the context of everything, it is extraordinary. Like he has no right to be that composed and look that assured that early on at 20 years old with minimal experience in senior football, full stop. Never mind, and now the hardest league in the world in a team that's been struggling with teammates you barely know. The pressure is enormous. But Khusanov, like I was surprised how composed he's on the ball. Like, I'd been told he was a really exciting prospect and so on, and I'd seen all the clips and whatever. But I expected someone a little bit rawer, but he isn't. Like the composure on the ball was good. He didn't lose it. He has that recovery pace, which was sort of famed for. Yeah, he's lightning quick getting past. He's strong. He's assertive. And I really like that Guardiola came out in the press conference afterwards as well and sort of defended his aggressive style. He said, I'll try and find the exact quote, but basically Guardiola defended him after he was given a free kick for a couple of shoulder barges, which is, it's his style. They were assertive, but Guardiola said he was whistled 2 or 3 times. He's so aggressive in one-on-ones, but apparently it's just a foul from him. And other central defenders who may be more prestige, it would not be a foul. He's referring to people like Van Dijk and that, and Saliba or whatever, who do that. And he's saying because he's young and he hasn't got a high profile, he got called for that. Good on Guardiola to come out and defend him. He's saying don't change your style. If Guardiola has that presence to come out and say that, the referees will listen. But yeah, really exciting. And Nico. Remarkable. Like Guardiola calling him a mini Rodri. Pep is in love with him. There was a bit where the camera cut back to Guardiola and he was smiling as if to say, "Oh, all my prayers have been answered." He's more suitable for the Man City than probably anyone else we could have bought. It's ridiculous looking at his playing style and what he could do. He's learned how to be a box-to-box eight over in Portugal with Conceição, so he's aggressive and he's physical. Declan Rice-esque mobility. That's what he reminds me of that way. But then he's got that La Masia background where he can sit between the centre backs and get the ball. His pass selection is ridiculous, and I think he's the first ever Premier League player or something like that to have over 100 passes on his debut. It's something like that. Is that the exact stat?
Yeah, I
You might
think
sort
it's.
that out,
I
Lee.
think. Well, I think I think it's the first City player to to make over 100 passes, complete 95% of those, and
It was
produce
97, wasn't it? I
over
think as
10
well, which is
passes in the
yeah.
final third. Yeah, and that's the first City player to do that since Rodri himself. So it's
I
good
think it
signs
was
of
a
the
Premier
future.
League debut thing as well, not just City. I think I saw
Right.
something like
Yeah.
that. But either way, he's stupidly good, and he's not. It's his Premier League debut against Newcastle, against Tonali, against Bruno Guimaraes. There's one bit where I saw him push off Bruno Guimaraes,
Yeah.
and then step past someone. I was like, he's so good, man. And like, yeah, those three guys, they excelled. And Savino, we only signed him a few months back, and he looks a world beater. 20 years old again. Look, all of a sudden, the mood for me around City is just changed because once again, there'll be bumps on the road. I'm not stupid, but you can see where we're heading now. We've had a glimpse of it. And I think it looks. This is just a trailer for next season. I'm hyped. I've bought the tickets. I'm there day one, so I can't wait.
Yeah, it's many positives. I think another one as well. It was nice to see James McAtee come off the bench and get his first Premier League goal in a Man City shirt,
Yeah.
and of course Edison as well. He's he's now provided the most Premier League assists by a goalkeeper in history. He's got three now this season, which is remarkably one more than Phil Foden at this stage of the season, which is crazy. So yeah, plenty of positives for City from the weekend, and in terms of the race for the top four, it was a much needed win for Man City, bearing in mind the run of fixtures still to come.
Yeah.
I don't think City fans can get too carried away with one performance and one result, but do you think City can build on this and get more results like this, more performances, and how optimistic are you that they can get the top four in the end?
Well, as you can tell by my previous answer, I'm absolutely getting carried away. Yeah. No, I think yeah, and I don't think it's misplaced either. Look, I'm aware, nothing's linear and there'll be problems, but I do think there's reason to be excited. I think Newcastle are no mugs, and I think the holes that City have had, they show signs of being plugged. I trust the talent in these players because it's very clearly there, and I think at this point, City are staring down. Let's go double check the fixtures, but City are staring down the end of this tough run, so to speak. We've been right in the thick of it. We've got Liverpool, of course, Real Madrid coming up on Wednesday, but Liverpool on Sunday. They've got Spurs away, and it's an interesting game these days for Spurs. They've always caused us trouble, but they're not the same Spurs at the moment. Then Forest, but then after that, it's Brighton at home, Leicester at home, United. I think it starts to ease up a little bit there, if I'm being honest. I think Brighton are good, but I fancy City at home there, especially if we can get, people on the pitch. So I look at the rest of the run and I think, actually, yeah, if the main difference for me against Newcastle is we could actually run. And that's the problem City have had. We've not been able to run. And even Gundogan looked fine, in this game because he had the legs alongside him, he had the intelligence alongside him. And it wasn't just the fact that we had Nico Gonzalez, but you look across the back line, you had a 20-year-old, two 20-year-olds, Rico Lewis and Khusanov. You had Josko Vardiel, who's 23, Nico, who's 23, two 24-year-olds in Haaland and Foden, a 26 Marmoush. Stones is 30, and then Ederson's I think about 30 as well. But essentially, most of the outfield players are mid to young, lower 20s. And I think that's the reason why I'm encouraged for the rest of the season, because if we can keep up running, that's been a problem. And if you've got a guy who now can progress the ball and do the defensive midfielder stuff with wingers who's getting better and, and a new, new option up front, I am optimistic. I don't expect we'll turn it around against Madrid, and we might struggle against Liverpool, because they're still probably the best team in the league right now. But yeah, I think we've got every reason as City fans to start to see that we could go on a good run towards the end of the season, and who knows, maybe it'll end up in a an FA Cup or something like that in the top four. So I think there is reason to be optimistic because it's very obvious to me a lot of City's problems came down to a lack of legs and a lack of composure. If Nico Gonzalez can carry on that form, Marmoush can keep being as good as he is. Khusanov emerges as a real prospect there to give the minutes to someone to him instead of Akanji who is injured or whatever. Then yeah, why not believe?